Good morning to you all. I've been waiting all summer to say this. Welcome to the first meeting of the Insured Retirement Institute, IRI. I want to thank our chairman, Mark Cassidy, our board, our committees, and our members who helped shape this transformation through thought leadership, dozens of hours of meetings, conference calls, research, and one-on-one contacts. I think you're going to be very glad you're in Boston this week. If you've looked at this agenda, you've already seen that we have an exciting, engaging, and exciting conference planned. We come together today under a new name, a new look, and most importantly, a new outlook on how we interact with the various communities that affect our today and our tomorrow. Regulators, legislators, the media, the various players in our industry, and of course, the consumer. Granted, we're not the first institution in history to give ourselves a makeover, but let me make this abundantly clear, there is nothing cosmetic about the change this organization has undertaken. This isn't just a shot of Botox. In becoming IRI, the Insured Retirement Institute, we've made a firm, rock-solid commitment to a mission and a way of doing business designed for the times in which we live. This new name, this new look, these are symbols of our dedication to be aggressive, to be focused, to be creative in spreading our message about economic security and the financial well-being of millions of Americans. More about this mission and how we're carrying it out in a moment. First, though, I'd like to think of this annual meeting as an opportunity to take a step back and gather some perspective on where we've been as an organization, more importantly, about where we're going. It was just 1 year ago that I came to this annual meeting and met many of you for the first time, having just been entrusted with this tremendous responsibility. I do need to be candid. Had I known, just weeks after taking this job, that we were headed into the worst economic downturn in decades, well, my excitement might have been tempered just a bit. But this is a day of optimism and forward thinking. So I'm not going to dwell on the tough economic times of the past year, but I do want to say one thing about the way the industry approached these challenges and how we came through them. We came through them by not sitting back and waiting for things to happen. Our drive and competitiveness helped us all persevere through the last 2 years. I'm a big fan of one of the world's most famous competitors, Lance Armstrong. Every time the Tour de France came around, if Lance was in the race, I was right there at ESPN following him. Now, if you haven't followed the Tour de France, basically it's a 2,000-mile bike race divided into 20 stages. Lance Armstrong has won this race an amazing 7 times, a record for the Tour de France. And there's one particular reason that he has so many wins and was more often than not the first to cross the finish line at the famed Champs-Élysées wearing the yellow jersey. He didn't win because he was the fastest racer in the straight sprints across level ground. He didn't win because he handled the curves of the French countryside better than the other racers. There's one particular stretch in which Lance Armstrong excelled over all of his competitors. At one of the last stages of the race, the cyclists have to make the climb up the French Alps. This is a steady climb that continues on, getting steeper as it goes, for 9 miles. What happens when they make that kind of ascent is that the field gets thinned out. A lot of competitors get off their bikes and just walk them up the mountain. A lot of others literally can't handle the exhaustion and the thinning air, and they just quit the race. But here is where Lance Armstrong won the race, because he attacked the mountain, and he never surrendered to the difficult conditions. He never stopped pushing forward. And even if he was behind at the base of the mountain, he was way ahead of the pack when the incredibly difficult climb finally ended. And I think there's a parallel between our industry and Lance Armstrong. We've gone through some difficult challenges over the past several months, but we've come out of it not only intact, but surging forward. And I would say candidly, I believe, in better shape than other financial service sectors. We believed in our mission, in ourselves, in our industry, and we have shown too that we can attack a mountain. We also came through this challenge with a realization, an understanding that we, as an association, can and should have a greater impact on shaping our own future, and yes, being even more prepared for what might come our way. The key word here in describing IRI is proactive, and that's a word with many different definitions. We're going to be proactive in our work with Congress, the White House, and federal regulators. One step in this regard was moving our headquarters from Reston, Virginia, out by Dulles Airport, to downtown Washington, D.C., just a few blocks from the Oval Office. Now, that doesn't mean that President Obama and I are going to be getting together for coffee on a regular basis. I'm really way too busy. But what it does mean, though, is that we are able to, on a moment's notice, get to a meeting with a member of a key Senate or House committee, walk down the street to FINRA, or take part in a rapidly pulled-together strategy conference with other financial associations. More important than our location, though, is the fact that we've built a strong lobbying and communications team, bringing in sharp, skilled former state and Capitol Hill staffers who know the lay of the land and can get our message to the right people. It was a good sign already that I had the opportunity to testify on Capitol Hill this summer on the subject of financial sector regulations. It was the first time the head of this association had ever testified before Congress, and I can guarantee you it won't be the last. Just as important as delivering the message is making sure it is the right message. We are making it clear that IRI and all of its members are foursquare in favor of consumer protection, in favor of transparency, and of industry adherence to highest ethical principles. But we're also making it abundantly clear as Congress considers an overhaul of financial regulations that our industry already has oversight from federal agencies and all 50 states, and that consumers cannot be well served by adding another layer of bureaucracy and regulation just for the sake of doing so. We're also being proactive regarding our own membership. We will continue to emphasize education on everything from complying with laws and regulations to utilizing new techniques and technology. And we're going to look at expanding our membership. One message that came out of the economic crisis is that individual investors are more and more turning to financial advisors. Our industry surveys shown that advisors are being more proactive in reaching out to their clients and ensuring that they're taking the right steps towards financial security. We want to bring more of these financial advisors into the IRI family through your institutions. It is critical that we represent the full continuum of financial services to consumers, from the companies that create the financial instruments to the advisors that sit down and help people make the right choices with their money. And that's where we're also going to be proactive, with consumers and with those that influence consumer decisions. We can't solely depend upon others to communicate the annuity value proposition to people in their homes, people concerned about their futures. We have to be much more aggressive in communicating this message ourselves. Working with financial advisors is just one mechanism. We're also improving our relations with the media, talking to financial and consumer reporters on a regular basis, and reaching out to media that has never considered using us as a source before. And it's not coincidental that we've seen stories of late in outlets from CNN to Wall Street Journal to the Dallas Morning News extolling the virtues of a guaranteed lifetime annual income.